They crossed the line. The night Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa destroyed Jimmh Uso, you know what makes my blood boil. One family turns on family. When brothers attack brothers. When loyalty gets thrown out the window like yesterday's trash. And on June 2, 2023, on WWE SmackDown, we witnessed one of the most vicious, cold-blooded, absolutely disgusting betrayals in wrestling history. Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa didn't just attack Jimmh Uso. They decimated him. They broke him. They sent a message so brutal, so savage, that it still haunts WWE fans to this day. And if you think this was just another storyline back down, you're dead wrong. This was personal. This was family warfare at its most ruthless. This was the moment the bloodline truly bled. Picture this. You're Jimmh Uso. You've stood by your cousin Roman through everything. Every defense, every battle, every war. You've sacrificed your own career, your own spotlight, your own dreams to make Roman Reigns the biggest star in professional wrestling. You've alienated your own twin brother Jimmh because Roman told you to. You've turned your back on legends, on friends, on everyone who ever cared about you, all because the tribal chief said so. And how does he repay you? With a spruce kick? With a chair shot? No. With something far worse. With complete and utter annihilation in front of the world. The tension had been building for weeks, but nobody saw this coming. Nobody thought Roman would actually go this far. See, Jimmh had started questioning things. He'd started seeing the cracks in the bloodline's foundation. He watched as Roman treated Jay like a servant, like a dog on a leash. He saw Solo Sikoa being groomed as the new enforcer, the new favorite. And Jimmh was becoming expendable. But Jimmh, being Jimmh, loyal to a fault, kept trying to hold the family together. He kept trying to make peace. He kept believing that blood was thicker than power. What a fool he was. That night on SmackDown started like any other episode. The bloodline music hit, the arena erupted, and out came Roman Reigns with his special counsel Paul Heyman, flanked by Solo Sikoa. But something felt different. The energy was off. Roman's face wasn't carrying that usual smug confidence. It was cold. It was calculated. It was the face of a man who had already made a decision that couldn't be undone. Jimmh came out separately, and you could see it in his body language. He knew something was wrong. That sixth sense that tells you danger is lurking around the corner. Roman got on the microphone and started talking about respect. About loyalty. About what it means to acknowledge the tribal chief. He talked about how the bloodline had conquered everything in their path, how they were the most dominant faction in WWE history. But then his tone shifted. He started talking about weakness. About doubt. About how one weak link could destroy an entire chain. And that's when Jimmy's heart must have sank into his stomach, because he knew. He knew Roman was talking about him. Paul Heyman, that snake in a suit, started running down Jimmy's recent performances. Started questioning whether Jimmh still had what it takes to run with a bloodline. Started planting seeds of doubt in everyone's minds. And Solo just stood there, silent, menacing, like a loaded gun waiting to go off. Jimmh tried to defend himself. He grabbed a microphone and poured his heart out. He talked about all the sacrifices he'd made, all the times he'd put the bloodline first, all the moments he'd proven his loyalty. He begged Roman to see reason, to remember that they were family, that they were blood. But Roman Reigns isn't just the tribal chief because of his wrestling ability. He's the tribal chief because he's ruthless. He's calculated. He's willing to do whatever it takes to maintain power, even if it means destroying the people who helped put him there. Roman looked Jimmh dead in the eyes and said the words that changed everything. He told Jimmh he was no longer worthy of being in the bloodline. He told him he was out. He told him to leave and never come back. The crowd was in shock. You could hear a pin drop in that arena. Jimmh stood there, devastated, heartbroken, but still trying to maintain his dignity. He started walking up the ramp, probably thinking that maybe, just maybe, he could walk away with some semblance of respect. But Roman Reigns doesn't let people just walk away. That's not how this works. That's not how the tribal chief operates. Roman gave Solo the nod. Just a simple nod. And that's when all hell broke loose. Solo Sikoa, this absolute wrecking ball of a human being, charged at Jimmh from behind like a freight train with no brakes. He hit him with a devastating Samoan spike that dropped Jimmh like he'd been shot. The crowd gasped. Some people screamed. Others couldn't believe what they were seeing. But it wasn't over. Not even close. Solo started stomping on Jimmh, vicious boots to the ribs, to the back, to the head. Each stomp echoed through the arena like thunder. And Roman just watched. He stood there with that sick, twisted smile on his face, enjoying every second of his cousin's suffering. Jimmh tried to fight back. God bless him, he tried. He threw punches, tried to create some distance, tried to survive. But he was outnumbered and outmatched. Roman joined in on the assault, and when the tribal chief and the enforcer worked together, there's no escaping. They threw Jimmh into the barricade. They slammed him on the steel ramp. They showed absolutely no mercy, no remorse, no humanity. This wasn't wrestling anymore. This was a public execution. This was Roman Reigns sending a message to everyone in WWE that if you cross the tribal chief, if you even think about questioning his authority, this is what happens to you. Even if you're family. Especially if you're family. The referees tried to stop it. Officials ran out trying to pull Roman and Solo off of Jimmh. But you don't stop the bloodline when they're on a mission. Roman shoved officials out of the way like they were children. Solo swatted at them like flies. They weren't done making their point. They dragged Jimmy's lifeless body back to the ring, and that's when you knew it was about to get even worse. They rolled him into the ring, and Roman positioned him in the center like a sacrifice on an altar. The crowd was booing so loud you couldn't hear yourself think. People were throwing trash into the ring. Others were crying. This was visceral. This was real emotion. Roman stood over Jimmh and delivered one final insult. One final act of disrespect that solidified this moment as one of the most heinous things we've ever witnessed. He raised his finger in the air, that signature gesture, demanding acknowledgement. But this time, he wasn't asking the crowd. He was looking down at his broken, battered cousin lying helpless at his feet. He was making Jimmh acknowledge him in his most vulnerable moment. And then came the spear. A spear so violent, so brutal, that it looked like Roman was trying to break Jimmh in half. The impact was sickening. Jimmy's body folded like an accordion, but even that wasn't enough for Roman Reigns. He wasn't satisfied with just physically destroying Jimmh. He needed to humiliate him. He needed to strip away every ounce of dignity Jimmh had left. So he'd pull him and hand him a chair. That cold steel chair that's been the instrument of so much pain and suffering in WWE history. Roman held it high above his head, and for a moment, just a brief moment, you could see something flicker in his eyes. Was it hesitation? Was it regret? Was it a tiny shred of the man Roman used to be before power corrupted him absolutely? No. It was just him savoring the moment. Savoring the fear in Jimmy's eyes. The chair came crashing down. Once. Twice. 3 times. Each shot rang out through the arena like a gunshot. Jimmy's body jerked with each impact, but he couldn't defend himself. He couldn't escape. He was at the complete mercy of a man who clearly had none. Solo stood guard, making sure nobody interfered, making sure the punishment was carried out to completion. This was systematic. This was premeditated. This was the tribal chief making an example out of someone who had given him everything. When they finally stopped, when they finally stepped back to admire their handiwork, Jimmh Uso wasn't moving. Medical staff rushed the ring immediately. They called for the stretcher. They checked his vitals. The whole time, Roman and Solo stood on the ramp, stone-faced, showing no emotion whatsoever. The crowd was still in complete shock. Commentators were speechless. Even the most hardened WWE fans who've seen everything were left absolutely stunned by what they just witnessed. This wasn't your typical wrestling angle. This felt real. This felt like we just watched a family implode on live television. The aftermath of this attack rippled through WWE for weeks. Social media exploded. Fans debated whether this was too far, whether WWE had crossed the line. Some people loved it, called it incredible storytelling. Others were genuinely upset, saying it was too violent, too brutal for what wrestling should be. But that's the genius of it, isn't it? That's what makes moments like this so powerful. They make you feel something. They make you react. They make you care. And if you weren't already invested in the Bloodline saga, you are now. The attack on Jimmh Uso wasn't just about one man being kicked out of a faction. It was a turning point. It was the moment where Roman Reigns fully embraced being the villain, being the monster, being exactly what everyone feared he would become. It set the stage for everything that came after. It set up the eventual reunification of the SES. It built toward Roman's ultimate downfall. Because here's the truth about tyrants, about dictators, about people drunk on power. They always fall. It might take time. It might take years. But they always fall. And their fall is always caused by the very people they stepped on to get to the top. So yeah, June 2nd, 2023 on WWE SmackDown will forever be remembered as the night the Bloodline truly bled. The night Roman Reigns proved he was willing to sacrifice everything and everyone for power. The night Solo Sikoa became the enforcer of nightmares. And the night Jimmh Uso became a sympathetic figure, a victim, a man who gave everything to his family only to be destroyed by them. If you haven't watched this segment, go find it right now. Watch it. Feel the intensity. Feel the emotion. And then come back and tell me this wasn't one of the most impactful moments in modern WWE history. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Smash that like button. And make sure you're subscribed because we break down the most insane moments in wrestling. We acknowledge the chaos, and we never forget